Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 3, Episode 10, Maveth. This was without a doubt an amazing episode. I think this is actually without a doubt the best mid-season finale I've seen for every show that I've reviewed so far. And it was just really good. It was about as action packed as I feel a mid season finale should be, and suspenseful, and just like a mid season finale, it ends with a great cliffhanger leading into the second half of the season, and it was a great episode. It was action packed. It was really sad at points, and it had the twist towards the end, and it was really good. It was really fun. We got multiple twists because not only do we find out that Will is actually dead, which was obviously tied into the sad thing. Like, that really did suck that he died. I was like, I wonder how this is gonna work out, and it doesn't work out, and that really sucked. And that kind of sucked. But we find out that this creature, whatever this thing is, the reason that it makes people, kind of go crazy is because it infects people. And maybe it can spread after it infects one person or something like that. But we find out officially in this episode that it isn't like some shape shifting sort of inhuman or anything. It's basically a bug. It's a bug that infects people, and it's basically bent on evil. It just wants to kill. It's just a bad thing, and it wants to kill people, and it can take over bodies and kind of turn them into zombies, pretty much. And it was kind of cool how they did that, because they're talking and stuff, and it's like, oh crap, there's this special city. And before that, they kind of mentioned that it was believed that this, whatever this random evil thing was, that's what caused the desolation on the planet. It's like, oh, maybe there was something there before. And then we actually see this ancient city, and we also saw the whole giant Hydra structure, which looked really creepy to me because it looked like an actual life-size, just, they call it Hydra, but when I think of Hydra, I think of dragons. But, it's just like this giant octopus structure, and I was like, that looks really creepy in, like, rock form. It was just huge, and it was obviously far away, and it still looked really big. So I was like, man, that looks really creepy, and it was just really cool. It's like there's this, there used to be this civilization that was very advanced and everything, and Fitz does get some pictures of it, so I'm sure we'll see more of it. I was hoping that they'd give us this introduction, and then I thought maybe what would happen is they'd get trapped on the planet for a little bit, and they'd have to find a way to go back a third time and find a way to save Fitz. Ward was dead, but Fitz, Coulson, and Will. And, that hasn't happened, but I feel like we still might get them going back to this planet another time, because they could still easily go back to the castle. It's completely destroyed. Hydra most likely wouldn't go back there, so they might be able to do that and figure something out. I mean, they still have Daisy, despite the issues that it causes, and she even passed out, which was another crazy moment. I was like, I was so sure at certain points when they were like, dealing with certain things and trying to get to the portal and stuff. I'm like, I don't think they're gonna make it out, and they're gonna get trapped there, and they're gonna have to find another way. You'll have to, keep doing it again, which I was fine with because we got introduced to the, crazy city and everything. Even though it was completely destroyed, I was like, there's got to be something that they can show us that would be really cool. So, I think we still might get that in the second half of this season. And now we have crazy monster slug version of Ward. I don't even know what to think of this, but Ward as a character is dead. We still have the actor, but Ward was killed, and that was an insanely great moment in this episode. Like, Coulson had his chance. It's like, it's time to go and everything. And that was another one of those moments, because they only had a minute when the timer started, and Fitz has to deal with the monster, and he has to keep shooting the body to take it down. Then he hits it with the flare and destroys it. And I thought for sure that it would still get back up, and I thought it was going to be in Will's body, and I thought it would still walk through the portal while he was trying to help Coulson. But ultimately, things work out in Coulson's favor. Fitz takes out the monster, Coulson takes out Ward, and he just crushes his heart and kills him. Like, his entire rib cage, he just crushes it straight down and kills him. And I was like, holy crap, they just killed Ward. As soon as they showed the bug, I knew for sure Ward, as his body at least, will come back and he'll be used for sure. But technically Ward was killed in this episode, so it's still, as far as I'm concerned, it still stands as an insanely good moment because that isn't Ward. It's the actor. It's Brett Dalton as an actor still in the show, but it's not Ward at all. Ward is gone from the show. It's his body and his likeness, but it is not that character anymore. And that's what I want to see. I'm sure for a while he'll probably act as Ward, so we might still see him kind of acting like Ward for a little bit. But now that he's free, maybe we won't see that at all. I don't really know. Maybe he'll try to get some answers for like a couple episodes or something. And then it'll be like, all right, Malik knows this. This is what's happening with Lash, if that's important, which I'm assuming it will be because, you know, the Inhumans were bothered by it. S.H.I.E.L.D. was bothered, you know, trying to keep Hydra away from it. And it's this little bug. And it just causes that much chaos. And it wiped out an entire civilization. And it's one bug. So it does spread, you know, for sure. It definitely does spread somehow beyond one body at a time. So we still have to wait and see how that works. And maybe it is sort of, you know, it's not physical contact, I don't think. And if it is, it has to kind of, it takes its time for it to affect people. And if that is the case, then Fitz is in trouble because they have a, you know, full-on fight. He's like wrestling with the guy and everything. So if that is the case, then we'll see Fitz change, you know, slowly but surely if that's how it works. If not, then we're fine. And I really hope that's the case because Fitz and Simmons have been through more than enough for sure. So hopefully everything is fine in that regard. And, you know, it's still sad, you know, what happened with Simmons and, of course, everything with Will actually being dead. That really sucked. I did want his character to come back. And I was like, that was kind of a good way for them to end it. But it still sucks because he was definitely a good guy. He was a good character in that episode. And it was really just Simmons and Will. And it was like, the character, the actor, he certainly did well. And the character that they wrote was definitely entertaining. So it actually really does suck that he died. And I would have loved to see that interesting dynamic if he was brought back. But unfortunately, he does die. Love the special effects on how they did the leg. And, you know, he's working on his leg and everything. And when they were doing that, and obviously he's talking about the city, I'm just like, how does he know this? And I was thinking, maybe there's somehow he got some information or something like that. I don't know. But of course, it turns out that he was the monster, and I just love, you know, he opens the wound, and it's just straight bone and, like, a bit of meat and stuff, and I was like, crap, that really sucks. And then when he officially said it, because I was hoping, because I was still in the mindset that the monster was shape-shifting, and that was why it would always show up as all these different things, and then he was like, no, he died, you know, protecting Gemma from me. And then, you know, they do the slug thing. I was like, that really sucks. Because I was still holding out hope that, you know, oh, he just shapeshifted and tricked them. And maybe Will was just somewhere else at the time. But no, he just had a plan. It was like, all right, well, they escaped. And it knew someone would come back. So it was really smart. And it certainly did exactly what it wanted to do. It escaped. And now it's in Ward's body. And I don't really know what to expect for the second half of the season, but I certainly love this episode. Mac was a great director in this one. He was making some really tough calls, and it was really good. When he had like that, I think it was before they start like the whole mission. He had a moment where he was like kind of getting a little amped up and stuff. I'm like, they could just throw in a "This is Sparta" and it would totally fit right here because he was getting really amped up. I think it was actually when he was telling everyone to leave, and he was like, you know, what part of "That's an Order don't you guys understand?" It was just really good. He made some really great, tough calls as a director, and it was just really, I was like, man, he would make a really great director if Coulson, you know, if they decide to do that in the future of the cinematic universe. Mac would actually be a really great director. I think he did a really good job in these past two episodes, and he was even better in this one because it was the whole episode. In the last one, it was like, it was still most of that episode, but he didn't have to make too many insane choices. It was just like, all right, we don't have a lot of people, so I'm bringing in the two other Inhumans that we have. And that was pretty much it. And this one was like, this is how every single thing is going. I'm going to say, this is where you guys are going. This is where you guys are going. This is what's happening. I'm going to sacrifice myself if I have to. and that's just how it's gonna be because I'm the director. Even though they had certain plans to kind of buy them time and stuff, it was like, no, this is why Coulson put me in charge to make the hard calls, and that's what's happening. So I certainly love Mac as the director in this episode. I think he did really well. It was definitely cool. We also have Lash again, which was pretty interesting, and that was another sad moment because Gemma kind of needs him in order to survive, and so he, turns in the Lash, kills those guards, and then May goes looking for him, and of course, he's just as bad as he'd always been. Like, once he turns, it's Lash. It's no longer Andrew, and he killed all those Inhumans inside of all those different boxes, and that really sucked. I was like, man, like, I figured that was gonna happen because they're all just there. They're basically up to be served, and that's what happened. So we have all the villains free at this point. Like, we traded one villain for another, even though it's, still Ward's body. But Ward has been killed as a villain, and now his body's being used by this creature. We still have Malik doing whatever his plan is, and who knows, considering the whole point was to bring, it back, maybe he'll be happy, and maybe they'll actually work together for a time, and then I think it will just flat out kill everyone and just cause chaos, because it wiped out an entire civilization. It said it was 9 cities, I believe, or something like that, or 5 cities, and so they feared change. Basically, it wanted to change stuff. It was like, hey, let's do this, and then, it basically caused the war, and they battled each other, but it, set off a bunch of chain reactions. I'm sure it went from body to body just to make people even crazier, but now it's on Earth, and we'll see how that plays out. It was feared by the Inhumans. It is some sort of, it's this little bug thing. I just don't really know what to think of it. I don't know if it's going to tie into like a big species from the Marvel Universe. Inhumans are part Kree as it is, so I don't know if it's going to have any relation to the Kree or anything like that, but I mean, it slightly ties into the Inhumans and what they know of the monolith and what it could bring to Earth, in this little creature, but who knows its origin or anything like that, but it's clearly dangerous, so I'm looking forward to what they do. I loved this mid-season finale. It was definitely amazing. Like I said, it had, good action moments. It had tons of suspense left and right, because I kept thinking towards the end that they weren't going to make it. I never thought that they would die, but if they didn't make it, then they would still be trapped on that planet, and it would just lead to another cycle of how do we save our people from this planet and this crazy creature, and then, the whole city thing. I felt like they totally could have had them get trapped on the planet again, and then figure out what was, left over, if anything. I mean, that thing's been there for centuries, so it's probably just those structures barely standing in the wind at this point, but I'd still like to see them go back towards the end of the season, or at any point once the show comes back, and figure out what's going on with this civilization. Maybe it was a Kree planet in the past or something like that, because this creature being like this little slug thing, maybe it didn't exactly know what the Kree were, so maybe it was a variation of the Kree, maybe it was just a totally different thing or something, who knows. But I'm pretty sure this isn't the last that we've seen of this planet, despite pretty much everyone getting off of the planet. So I'm looking forward to what they do with that new information, with them having the pictures of this ancient civilization, and I just can't wait to see what this creature does. I feel like it's going to blend in for quite a while with Hydra, and then even once Malik figures it out, it's like, well, this is what we wanted anyway. We wanted you back on Earth. For whatever reason, we still technically don't know what the whole point of them bringing it back was, because it's like, oh, it's this great evil that the Inhumans feared, and that's pretty much it. That's all we know. And Hydra just kind of wants it back because it can cause a bunch of chaos. But, I mean, evil villains tend to do this all the time, I guess. And it's like, it's super crazy bad and evil, but we'll control it because we want to. That's how villains tend to think sometimes. So, I guess that's where their minds are at. Or, I guess Malik's mind is at, because there's nobody else, not even Ward anymore. But I love this episode. It's definitely a great one. Coulson hit a real dark point. Like, the whole last episode was like leading to this moment, but it seemed, the last episode, I think the last episode and the final scene between Coulson and Ward fit perfectly together. Because in between, in this episode, like he has the dream early on, and then he goes, out and tries to find Ward, and he does find him. But it seemed like he was much calmer. Like he shoots him in the arm and stuff. He was making his jokes and everything. He didn't seem as angry, but he put certain things above his revenge, and it was like, despite what he said early on, was like, I'm not here for Fitz. He cares about his people, and so it was like, all right, we found Fitz. Fitz is safe. He destroyed the monster, of course, so they thought. And it's like, I've got a chance to get to this portal, and I've got you right here. I thought he was gonna leave him. I thought for sure that at first he was just gonna walk off and be like, enjoy your time here, and just leave him to die on his own. And that would probably be how he got taken over by the creature. Or another thing that was in my head was maybe Ward will actually work with the creature, and they were doing all the foreshadowing and stuff, and it came very differently than I was expecting, because he was talking about this isn't death, it's a new beginning, and obviously the title of the episode is Maveth, and there's all the other crap about death and reincarnation and all the other things you could throw in there if you want to, but there were so many different thoughts, like they're gonna get trapped. Once they were able to leave, I thought he would just leave them to die, and then the creature would end up going into a different body, and then they'd work together to escape somehow, because he was so sure. I thought he was going off the deep end for real in this episode. I was like, he's really losing it. He loves this planet, and he's crazy. And it kind of came to fruition in a very different way, and Coulson just, when he did it, I was just like, wow. Like at first he he puts his hand on him, and I thought he was just gonna choke him slowly or something, and then they do this sort of bones, cracking a little bit, and I was like, he's just pushing down because he's got basically super strength in his hand, and he just keeps going, and then he just does that final little push, and it's just like, and he, Ward just breathes out, and his leg drops, and he's done, and I was like, that was insane. That was a holy crap moment that I was not expecting, and now we have this new version of Ward. And everyone's sort of happy. I mean, the mission, everyone lived outside of Will. So Gemma, of course, or Simmons. They said Gemma so much in this episode, it was crazy to hear them say her first name so many times. But Simmons probably had the worst out of the whole mission, and then May would probably be second. But then there's Coulson. Everyone, those three people, lost someone, and May kind of lost someone all over again, just like Simmons did. So they've each lost someone in this episode, and they each have their little moment to really reflect on it. And despite his revenge, that they do it in every single series because it's true. For some people, I'm sure it works, but you get your revenge, but it still doesn't make you complete. It makes you feel a bit better, but it doesn't make you complete. So Coulson's still there, and Fitz, Simmons have to deal with everything that happened with Will, and Simmons has to deal with that loss, and kind of how that still leads to the possibility of her and Fitz being together, but obviously it comes from a weird form of loss, just like her loss of Fitz kind of led to her being with Will. So they're gonna have to deal with that, and then of course May and the whole team is still gonna have to deal with Lash, and however that's going to play out with more Inhumans once they're found. But a great mid-season finale. I certainly loved it. Like I said, so far it's been my favorite out of every mid-season finale I've seen for all my different shows. Everything's kind of been meh. I think my second favorite has actually been Gotham, oddly enough, and I watched Flash earlier, and I still think Gotham was better than the Flash mid-season finale, and this is definitely above Gotham for sure. So I got Supernatural and Arrow tomorrow. Those are the only two that might be able to top this, but unless they start wiping out a buttload of people, I don't see how they're going to beat this mid-season finale, because it was definitely amazing. I can't wait to see what we get for the second half of this season. I was very surprised when when they do the ending, and I saw that it's not coming back until March, but I guess it's because Agent Carter comes back. I thought they would do it kind of like they did last year, but I guess because this is its second season, it's not just, I believe it was 8 episodes last time. It may have been 10 or something, but it was very short compared to now it's an established series, so it's going to be our mid-season show. It's still going to be shorter, but I don't believe, I really can't remember, but I don't believe the show came back in March last year. Or I guess technically, I don't believe it came back in March this year. But either way, I'm looking forward to the second half. Really looking forward to Agent Carter. They're going off to Hollywood, so that should be pretty fun. And seeing the little nods and how this, leads to this and the whole cinematic universe in the future. I'm looking forward to more of that stuff like they did last season. But great mid-season finale. Like I said, I can't wait to see what they do with this. And, I really don't know where they're going to go with this creature because it seems just like a kill everything sort of monster, but I feel like there's just something else to it. So I'm looking forward to that. Also, the new guy, I can't think of his name, but when the bullets melted, when they were coming at him, I know this is like just jumping back to a random scene, but that was really awesome. He jumps in front of Daisy to save her, and the bullets just melt. And I'm assuming that was because he used his powers, it wasn't just automatic, but it may have been because he mentioned, like, oh, I'm bulletproof. I don't know if he actually triggered his powers on purpose or, if that's kind of like an automatic shield on him. But either way, that was really sweet because I was like, please melt the bullets, please melt the bullets, because I didn't want him to die after he finally, gets to become like a part of the main cast a little. I was like, I don't want this guy to die right now, and the bullets melt, and I was like, that was really sweet. So, love that scene. Looking forward to him becoming a part of the main cast again and really getting to know more about him because we've only had like these last, 2 episodes really, and then his introduction, and that's really it. So we still don't have too much out of him, and he's like, he's still the rookie, and he's like, so are we doing this or doing that, or is it like a combo of the three? And he's just like a fish out of water at this point. But I like that because that's a very interesting perspective that even though we had that in the beginning of the series, even with Daisy, it's still a bit different because he's also still dealing with the fact that he's got powers, and he's getting, his introduction is very different from Daisy's. His is like, we're fighting everything at once. We kind of just need you to jump in on this one. And so his introduction is still very different. So it's still a new experience, even though we technically saw it in the beginning of the series as well. But definitely want to know what you guys thought about this one. So please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts, your least favorite parts. And I really want to know what you guys thought of Coulson actually killing Ward off. Despite, the creature taking over his body and everything, like I said, as far as I'm concerned, Ward was killed in this episode, and that is a huge deal for Coulson as a character that he actually did that. And the Ward is dead. Like, Ward is gone. I don't care if his body is still there. This is one of those moments where it's going to be such a difference. It's not going to be Ward, just period. This thing will fake as him for a bit, but just that moment and the way it happened, like in a lot of shows it can happen that way and then someone comes back and they're taking over or whatever, but the way they did it for me was just like, it made it so permanent that I still don't see that as Ward. Even at the very same episode after the commercial, and I was like, oh, the creature makes it out, and I was like, I just don't see that as Ward. I still don't, because of the way it was such a personal, intimate death and how they did it. I was like, I don't even see that as Ward. It's just this monster. I really don't see it as Ward. Like, Ward is gone. But I want to know what you guys thought about that scene, and of course the mid-season finale in general, as well as what you guys want to see for the second half of the season. So please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.